Forbes confirmed that Arnold Schwarzenegger has a net worth of $1.1 billion as of 2025. A boy from a village of 2,200 people in Austria is now the richest actor on the planet. Here is an inside peek into Arnold Schwarzenegger's billionaire life. Born in Thal, Austria in 1947, Schwarzenegger moved to the United States in 1968 with little more than a dream of becoming the best bodybuilder in the world. No connections, no trust fund, no safety net. Just a body he had spent years sculpting into the most powerful instrument he could imagine, and a mind already thinking several moves ahead of everyone around him. Arnold Schwarzenegger's real estate portfolio is valued at $300 million. For context, Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't come from money. In fact, his childhood highlight was his family being able to afford a refrigerator. His father, Gustav, was the local chief of police in Thal. His mother was a homemaker. There was no financial inheritance waiting for Arnold, no family business to walk into, no wealthy relatives to call on. What he had instead was a vision so clear and so consuming that it overrode every limitation his circumstances placed on him. In 1960, Schwarzenegger's football coach took him to the local gym and introduced the 13-year-old to the world of bodybuilding. That one afternoon changed the entire trajectory of his life. From that point, bodybuilding became an obsession. Schwarzenegger became so obsessed with working out and sculpting a bodybuilder's physique that he made sure he lifted every single day. Unfortunately, his local gym wasn't open on the weekends, but he didn't let that stop him. He would break into the gym to train. That specific refusal to let any obstacle interrupt his routine was not a quirk. It was the operating system he would run for the rest of his financial life. By age 20, he had become the youngest winner of the Mr. Universe title, a record that still stands. But Arnold had already looked further ahead than the trophy. After learning that some recent winners of the Mr. Universe competition went on to have successful acting careers in Hollywood, Arnold immediately set his sights on becoming the most famous professional bodybuilder in the world. He was stacking ambitions on top of each other. Use bodybuilding to get to America. Use America to get to Hollywood. Use Hollywood to get to something even bigger. The plan was already in motion before he turned 21. When he landed in the United States in 1968, he did not wait for an opportunity to find him. In 1968, Schwarzenegger and fellow bodybuilder Franco Columbu started a bricklaying business. The business flourished thanks to the pair's marketing savvy and an increased demand following the 1971 San Fernando earthquake. Think about what that means. A 21-year-old Austrian immigrant, still learning English, laying bricks in the California heat, and turning it into a profitable operation before his name meant anything to anyone outside the bodybuilding world. When signs of profitability emerged as business began to pick up, Schwarzenegger and Columbu rolled over the profits from their bricklaying venture to go on and start their own mail-order business that sold bodybuilding and fitness-related equipment and instructional tapes. Every dollar earned from one venture was immediately redirected into the next one. The pattern that would define his entire financial life, earn, reinvest, scale, was already fully operational. Schwarzenegger transferred profits from the mail-order business and his bodybuilding competition winnings by rolling the proceeds into his first real estate investment, an apartment building he purchased for $10,000. That $10,000 apartment building in Santa Monica would become the foundation of a real estate empire worth hundreds of millions. But at the time, it was simply a practical decision. When Arnold first came to this country, he needed to figure out a way to pay for his competitions, to pay to get to auditions, to pay to market himself, because he had a vision. To do all that without having a 9-to-5 job. He saved every last penny he had from earning money in competitions, in giving workshops, and giving seminars, until he had enough money to purchase a sixplex. He lived in apartment number 6 and rented out the other 5. 3 years later, he sold the sixplex and bought a 12-unit apartment building. Somewhere down the road, Arnold sold the 12-unit and bought a 36-unit building. This is the most important sequence in understanding how Arnold Schwarzenegger became a billionaire. Not the movies, not the Terminator, not the governor's office. A 6-unit apartment building in Santa Monica that he used to live rent-free, while his tenants paid down his mortgage. He was a millionaire at age 25 thanks to these real estate investments. He had not yet appeared in a single major Hollywood film. While the bricks and apartment units were stacking up his net worth in the background, Arnold was simultaneously conquering the one arena that would transform him from a successful immigrant businessman into a global icon. Bodybuilding was not just his sport. It was his brand, his business card, and the engine that drove every other opportunity that followed. Schwarzenegger became Mr. Olympia, the most prestigious title in bodybuilding, 7 times between 1970 and 1980, a record that solidified his position as the greatest bodybuilder of all time. 7 times in an era before social media, before global streaming, before the internet could spread his image to every corner of the world. Arnold Schwarzenegger became a household name through the raw power of his physique and the force of his personality. He did not just compete, he dominated. He did not just win, he redefined what winning looked like. With his massive size, symmetry, and aesthetics, Schwarzenegger became the ideal that aspiring bodybuilders strived for. His iconic physique and charisma helped popularize bodybuilding in the 1970s, opening doors to commercial endorsements, fitness products, and a dedicated fan base. This was crucial. Arnold understood early on that his body was a product, and the market for that product was expanding every year. The sport he dominated was growing in visibility, and he was positioned at the very center of it. His fame became even more well-known in 1977 after the release of the bodybuilding documentary Pumping Iron. That documentary pulled back the curtain on competitive bodybuilding in a way that had never been done before, and Arnold was its undeniable star. His charisma leaped off the screen. His competitive ferocity, the psychological games, the composure under pressure, the almost theatrical command of every room he entered, made viewers forget they were watching a documentary about lifting weights. They were watching a star. Arnold parlayed his personal fitness triumphs into a slew of best-selling fitness books and magazines, and owns brands like Fitness Publications, Inc. and Pumping Iron America. The fitness publishing business was not an accident. Arnold recognized that his knowledge had monetary value, that the millions of people who wanted bodies like his would pay for the information on how to build one. He packaged his expertise into books, training programs, and mail-order materials. Long before content creation was a concept anyone talked about, he was monetizing his personal brand decades before that phrase entered the business world. That brand later supported fitness books, mail-order training programs, supplement marketing, speaking engagements, and film opportunities. Bodybuilding served as the launch pad for everything that followed. Every single revenue stream in Arnold Schwarzenegger's life, every film offer, every endorsement, every speaking engagement, every real estate introduction, traced its roots back to that teenage boy who broke into a gym on weekends in a small Austrian village. The body he built became the asset that built everything else. He co-founded the Arnold Sports Festival, one of the largest bodybuilding competitions in the world. He also launched his own line of fitness supplements and has partnerships with several brands in the health and wellness industry. The Arnold Sports Festival, held annually in Columbus, Ohio, grew into a multi-sport event, drawing hundreds of thousands of attendees across more than 80 sports. Arnold's name was not just on a trophy, it was on the entire enterprise. The festival became a revenue-generating machine in its own right, adding yet another income stream to a portfolio that was growing more complex by the year. And then came the supplements. He was an early investor in Google and launched Ladder, a supplement company with LeBron James. The partnership with LeBron James on Ladder, a premium fitness supplement brand, combined 2 of the most recognizable athletic figures in the world under one commercial umbrella. Arnold's credibility in the fitness world, built over 5 decades, gave Ladder an instant heritage that no amount of marketing money could manufacture. The brand sold authenticity because its founders had earned it on the gym floor. By the time Arnold's bodybuilding career wound down, the financial infrastructure it had created was already self-sustaining. Schwarzenegger was a millionaire before his major film career even began. Upon arriving in California in 1968, he used earnings from bodybuilding, mail-order fitness courses, and a bricklaying business, with fellow bodybuilder Franco Columbu to purchase apartment buildings in Santa Monica. This real estate-first strategy allowed him to pick movie roles based on quality rather than financial desperation. That last point is more important than it sounds, because the actor who would eventually command $35 million per film walked into every negotiation from a position of financial strength, not necessity. He never needed any single deal. And that changed everything about the deals he got. After retiring from bodybuilding, Schwarzenegger gained worldwide fame as a Hollywood action star. His breakthrough came with his starring role in Conan the Barbarian in 1982, which was followed by a sequel. He subsequently starred as the Terminator in the science fiction film The Terminator in 1984, and reprised the role in 4 sequels. The journey from bricklayer to the most bankable action star on the planet is, on the surface, a story about talent and luck. But dig deeper, and it reveals itself as a masterclass in strategic positioning, negotiation, and knowing exactly when to walk away from money to make more of it later. Schwarzenegger had only recently learned English, and his accent was so thick that the producers of the film were worried nobody would be able to understand him. So, his voice was dubbed over by another actor for his first film's release. His first Hollywood appearance in Hercules in New York in 1970 did not even use his real voice. Arnold Schwarzenegger's acting began small, with Hercules in New York in 1970 earning $1,000 a week. $1,000 a week. The same man who would one day earn $35 million for a single film started at $1,000 a week, with his voice replaced because studios did not believe audiences would accept him. He kept going. His career didn't really take off until he was cast in the 1984 blockbuster The Terminator. He earned $75,000 for his work in The Terminator, which went on to earn $80 million worldwide. $75,000 for a film that grossed $80 million worldwide. By any standard, that is a catastrophic negotiation for the studio. Arnold had sold himself short on the upfront, but The Terminator gave him something no amount of money could buy at that stage: global recognition. The deal was never about the $75. It was about what those $75 unlocked. By the time Terminator 2 went into production, Arnold was one of the biggest box office draws in the world. He earned a $12 million salary for the sequel. Despite having only 700 words of dialogue, that paycheck worked out to roughly $21,429 per spoken word. The jump from $75 to $12 million in the space of 7 years is staggering. But Arnold was not content to simply ride the escalator of rising salaries. He had been in the real estate business long enough to understand the concept of equity, of owning a piece of the thing rather than just being paid to work on it. For the 1988 comedy classic Twins, in which he co-starred with Danny DeVito, Schwarzenegger opted for nearly 20% of the gross receipts instead of an upfront salary. When the film became a surprise hit, his payout breached $35 million, a deal so good, the studio apparently swore never to repeat it. Think about the audacity of that move. A Hollywood star at the height of his commercial power, walking away from a guaranteed salary on a film that studios were not even sure audiences would accept. A muscle-bound action star in a broad comedy, and taking a percentage of receipts instead. If Twins had flopped, Arnold walks away with almost nothing. It did not flop. His role in Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines in 2003 earned him $35 million, which included an upfront salary of $29.25 million and a 20% royalty on gross profits over $380 million. By the time of Terminator 3, Arnold had turned film contracts into financial instruments. The royalty structure on gross profits over a specified threshold was the same thinking that had made his Twins deal legendary. except now it was layered on top of an already record-breaking upfront salary. The superstar stands as one of the highest-paid actors of all time, earning around $500 million through his films, over $5.5 billion at the global box office from roughly 50 films, with 13 pictures surpassing $200 million during their theatrical runs. Those are numbers that belong alongside the greatest commercial careers in Hollywood history. But what separated Arnold from other action stars of his era was not just the scale of his box office success, it was what he did with the money. Schwarzenegger's earnings weren't limited to his salary. He also earned a substantial amount through profit participation deals. This became a common trend in his contracts, further boosting his income. Oak Productions, his film and production company, has played a role in hits like the Terminator franchise, True Lies, and even the animated children's series, Superhero Kindergarten. Oak Productions was not just a vanity company. It was a structural tool that allowed Arnold to capture production-level economics on his films, meaning he was not merely the talent, he was also a business entity, participating in the financial architecture of the projects he starred in. Every dollar that passed through Oak Productions was a dollar that stayed inside his own ecosystem, rather than disappearing into studio accounting. The Hollywood paychecks were the fireworks. The real estate was the foundation, and the story of how Arnold Schwarzenegger turned a 10,006-unit apartment building in Santa Monica into a $300 million commercial empire is the most instructive financial story in his entire life, because it happened before anyone knew who he was, and it continued to grow even after everyone did. Even before Schwarzenegger became the godfather of modern bodybuilding, before he became a mega movie star, or even before he was the governor of California, he was a beginning commercial real estate investor. The foundation of Arnold's success was not his six-pack abs. The foundation of his success was a six-plex apartment building he purchased in Santa Monica, California. The simplicity of the beginning is what makes it so powerful as a story. There was no genius stroke, no lucky break, no secret information. He saved money from competitions and seminars, bought a 6-unit building, lived in 1 unit, rented the other 5, and waited. In his 2012 memoir, Total Recall, My Unbelievably True Life Story, Arnold explained his outsized appetite for risk, saying, "Conservative bets, the kind that would generate 4% a year, say, didn't interest me." That philosophy is stamped across every major financial decision of his career. Over the years, Schwarzenegger expanded aggressively. He eventually bought, redeveloped, and sold entire blocks, including a Santa Monica development that was flipped in 2006, and a Venice Beach commercial property he purchased for around $12 million in the 1980s, before being sold in 2013 for more than triple the price. More than triple the price. That is the compounding power of California commercial real estate held over decades. And Arnold held it with the patience of someone who did not need the money, because his acting career was producing it in abundance. Arnold saw the possibilities and the power of commercial real estate, which led him to build an empire now consisting of hundreds of apartment units, office buildings, and retail space in West Los Angeles. West Los Angeles, one of the most valuable pieces of real estate geography on the planet, is where Arnold planted his commercial roots and refused to uproot them, regardless of what Hollywood was offering him on any given day. Arnold Schwarzenegger still owns commercial buildings purchased early on that are now worth astronomical sums thanks to long-term market growth. Schwarzenegger also previously owned a slice of the Waldorf Astoria in Beverly Hills and is a long-term investor in Ohio's Easton Town Center, one of the top-performing shopping centers in the U.S. The Easton Town Center investment is particularly revealing of how Arnold operated. At the highest levels of commercial real estate, Schwarzenegger partnered with billionaire retail developer Les Wexner, founder of Victoria's Secret. This partnership exposed him to large-scale commercial development. He did not just write a check. He used every high-profile relationship his celebrity afforded him to get into rooms where the biggest real estate deals in America were being structured, and then he made himself useful enough to those rooms to stay in them. Easton Town Center in Ohio, a major stake in a $230 million shopping center, with his share estimated at $115 million. One investment, $115 million of estimated value, from a single retail partnership in Columbus, Ohio. That is the scale at which Arnold was operating in commercial real estate, while simultaneously appearing in some of the highest-grossing films in Hollywood history. On the residential side, after the couple's divorce, Arnold won sole ownership of their Brentwood mansion, which was bought for $5.1 million in 2002. The 7-bedroom, 10-bathroom property with a tennis court has an estimated value of $12 million, similar to other homes in the area that sell for $6 to $15 million. And his Sun Valley, Idaho ski retreat, a sprawling mountain property that he co-owned with his former wife Maria Shriver, stands as another example of the layered, geographically diversified approach he took to personal property. In total, Schwarzenegger's commercial real estate holdings are estimated to be worth $100 million, and that doesn't even include his personal residences, of which there are several. Commercial holdings alone, north of $100 million, personal residences valued at tens of millions more, and the underlying land in West Los Angeles appreciating year after year. Schwarzenegger's real estate investments have significantly contributed to his overall net worth. By diversifying his portfolio to include commercial real estate, private equity, and stocks, he has ensured a steady stream of income. The real estate empire did something else that rarely gets mentioned. It liberated him. It meant that when he walked into a studio negotiation, he was walking in as a man who did not need the job. And in Hollywood, where studios feed on desperation and manufacture leverage out of thin air, walking in with financial independence was the most powerful negotiating tool in existence. Real estate made Arnold rich. Hollywood made him famous. But the investment that quietly crossed him over into billionaire territory was a 5% stake in a financial company that most people outside the investment world have never heard of, and a set of early-stage bets on technology companies that demonstrated a business instinct extending far beyond the entertainment industry. No stock has been more profitable for him than his stake in investment firm Dimensional Fund Advisors. Schwarzenegger purchased a 5% minority stake in the company in 1996 when it handled $12 billion in assets. It now handles $718 billion in assets, and his stake in the company is worth nearly $500 million, according to Forbes estimates. Read those numbers again. He bought into a company managing $12 billion, and he has held his stake for nearly 3 decades. The jump to billionaire status was driven by the appreciation of his 5% stake in Dimensional Fund Advisors. Schwarzenegger, an early investor in Dimensional, sat down with founder and chairman David Booth for a conversation about leadership, purpose, and helping people pursue their financial goals. The relationship between Arnold and Dimensional Fund Advisors was not a passive one. He sat alongside its founder at investor forums. He was embedded in the company's culture and leadership conversations. This was not someone who wrote a check and forgot about it. It was a long-term partnership that compounded alongside the firm's extraordinary growth. Aside from Les Wexner, there was Berkshire Hathaway's one and only Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett. The mentors Arnold cultivated over the course of his financial life were not randomly selected. Wexner was one of the most prolific real estate and retail developers in American history. Buffett was, and remains, the most celebrated long-term investor of the 20th century. Arnold was not just networking. He was surrounding himself with the thinking that would guide his capital allocation for decades. He is the founding client of Main Street Advisors, a firm established to help him manage his wealth, which has since expanded to advise other celebrities. Arnold did not just benefit from professional wealth management. He helped create the architecture of it. He's also the founding client of Main Street Advisors, the firm that now manages wealth. The firm he helped found now steers the finances of the biggest names in entertainment and sport. His fingerprints are on the wealth management playbooks of an entire generation of celebrity investors. But the Dimensional Fund Advisors stake was only one piece of a broader investment picture. that revealed a pattern of identifying early-stage opportunities with enormous upside. The actor was an investor in Starbucks in the 1990s, an early investor in Google in 1999, and has stocks in Beyond Meat and AMC, according to Forbes. Google in 1999. Let that land. Arnold Schwarzenegger invested in Google's Series A funding round in 1999, when the company was still operating out of a garage, and its search engine was a novelty. Schwarzenegger was an early investor in Google back in 1999. His other investments include Scopely, a leading company in interactive entertainment and mobile games, and Advanced Microgrid Solutions, which installs advanced energy storage systems to lower energy costs. His first business venture was a bricklaying business in Southern California that he started with fellow bodybuilder Franco Columbu in 1968. In 1991, Schwarzenegger joined fellow action stars Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Willis, as well as Demi Moore, as investors in the Planet Hollywood restaurant chain. Planet Hollywood ultimately collapsed as a business venture, one of the few publicly noted misfires in an otherwise near-flawless investment track record. But even that failure is instructive. Arnold had diversified his holdings so extensively by the early 1990s that a single failed restaurant chain could not meaningfully damage his overall financial position. Schwarzenegger has also raked it in from the likes of Super Bowl commercials and investments. Like Starbucks and Google's Series A, the Super Bowl commercial appearances, including the 2024 Agent State Farm campaign, demonstrate that his celebrity still commands premium endorsement rates even at age 77. In 2024, for example, he appeared in the Agent State Farm Super Bowl advert. The commercial value of the Arnold Schwarzenegger name, built over 5 decades, continues to generate income from the endorsement market. As governor, Arnold was eligible for an annual salary of $175,000, but he declined the payment, citing his own personal wealth, as well as his commitment to serving the public. He ran a state with a GDP larger than most countries in the world, and refused the salary. During his time serving as governor, Arnold left roughly $200 million worth of acting salaries on the table, $200 million in foregone film earnings, and he still crossed the billion-dollar line. That is how large and how robust the rest of his financial infrastructure had become. Schwarzenegger hasn't starred in a Hollywood film since the critically panned Terminator, Dark Fate, all the way back in 2019, with nothing more than a few streaming gigs. That being said, it's worth noting that Arnold Schwarzenegger's acting efforts have grossed an estimated total of $5.5 billion in box office revenue. Even in semi-retirement from acting, the machine keeps running. His return to acting with high-paying streaming deals, such as Netflix's Fubar, has added significantly to his liquid assets. Last year, Dwayne Johnson landed on the top of the richest actors list. But in 2025, he's in second place to a celebrity who hasn't starred in a movie for half a decade, but is still reported as being worth $1.1 billion. The richest actor on the planet. Not the one with the most films, not the one with the most sequels, the one from Thal, Austria, population 2,200, who broke into a gym on weekends as a teenager because no obstacle was going to stop him from building what he had decided to build. As a self-made billionaire, he never relies on a single source of revenue and continues to explore fresh avenues and push new horizons. Schwarzenegger's journey from humble beginnings to a $1 billion net worth serves as a reminder that sometimes the most incredible stories are those that unfold in real life, surpassing even the most thrilling films. The bodybuilder, the Terminator, the governor, the billionaire. 4 lives in one. And the thread running through all of them was never the muscles, never the movies, never the politics. It was the refusal from the moment he first laid eyes on that gym to ever stop building.